Bail, like I said, is not linked to a rise in crime. However, we, again, want to make sure that people understand judges have discretion. I want to make sure people understand the reforms. And mostly, we do not want to criminalize poverty for people who are accused of low-level crimes. I, again, know that there is a compromise to be had, and we are working to get there.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was State Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, who joined New York One earlier today, weighing in on the debate over bail reform, which remains a key sticking point in budget negotiations in Albany. As we reported earlier, it appears that Governor Hochul and legislative leaders are close to making changes to the state's existing bail laws to give judges more discretion. Joining me now to talk more about all of this is someone who supports the changes, Assemblymember Mike Reilly. His district includes several neighborhoods in central and southern Staten Island. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tank. Thanks for having me.
Let me ask you, the Democrats are, first of all, control every facet of government here, right? And they're having difficulty negotiating a budget. But it does seem as though the holdup is really bail. Are the changes the governor is seeking going to go far enough, in your opinion?
No, I do not. I think that there's ability here that we can actually make the real changes that will impact our communities. Right now, the current changes that they're proposing are really window dressing, and that's the issue here. If you really wanted to change bail reform, we would actually discuss the return of people to court that get desk appearance tickets. We heard earlier the majority leader saying that data is showing that it's working. Well, unfortunately, the data that we're seeing isn't really capturing every aspect that we need. We don't see how many people are getting desk appearance tickets and not returning to court and then being recidivists. So that's a portion of it that really goes unnoticed.
And I've also heard from police officers that there are times they may not make an arrest. Let's say it's a shoplifting or something like that, and they feel as though someone's going to end up back out on the street. And I think to some degree, the changes they're seeking to make here wouldn't really address that, which has been rare. I'm sure you can attest in your own neighborhoods you're getting complaints from shop owners.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I sponsored legislation to combat that organized retail theft. That's who you're really going after. We're not looking to criminalize those that are poor. Right? This is more about those organized retail theft organizations and the ones that are really targeting our stores and our business owners. And the legislation that I introduced would actually make it, if you're convicted of 2 shoplifting within 18 months, the next time you get arrested, it could be cumulative and make it every shoplifting incident that you commit a felony.
All right, so big picture it for me. How do you fix this law? Can you fix this law, or do you have to start from scratch?
You can fix this law. I've been championing this for since 2019 when this first passed. We need a scalpel. Unfortunately, they took a hatchet and they totally revamped the criminal justice system. We can tweak this to make it real palatable and work and improve community safety. That's the issue we have here right now. And, let's remember, I understand that bail is meant to make sure that the defendant returns to court. But let's put it this way. Think about homicides. When you have a homicide, a person that goes before a judge and there's a bail hearing and they're remanded. And why? Because that's a really dangerous crime to the community. And that's why they're held without bail, or bail is issued at a high dollar amount. If we're allowing judges to make that discretionary decision in those cases, why wouldn't they be able to do it in a Rob 2 situation where someone commits a robbery in concert with another, or maybe menacing with a firearm? These are the things that we're missing out on and fixing. And that's the real conversation we need. And also raise the age with 16 and 17-year-olds.
Is it as simple as giving judges the discretion you're talking about? I mean, in other words, there are many states that have done bail reform because there seems to be kind of a newfound understanding that bail is discriminatory. It criminalizes those who can't afford to pay it. And some people would call it criminalizing poverty. But most states have gone forward and given judges discretion. So even if, let's say, it is theft or petite larceny, but it's a repeat offender, the judge can say, well, hang on a second. This person keeps committing this crime. We're not going to let them back out.
Yes, and that's something that our judges should have. And that's one of the key sticking points, is that taking away that discretion, which they did with bail reform, really jeopardized community safety. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about those repeat offenders that go through the revolving door system that we've created with bail reform.
But part of the problem to me also seems like, because they've now tweaked this a couple times, right? I mean, the first passed in 2019, they made an initial tweak to it a year later, and then we were back again last year, and it wound up holding up the budget. Here we are again. But that they keep kind of compromising and making half a loaf, right? So it seems like we're setting the table to once again have it so that it doesn't quite fit what we need to fix the law, and they could end up coming back here again and doing the same thing next year, having the same exact argument.
But you're right. I mean, unfortunately, instead of piecemealing this, we should really have a conversation and really get all the stakeholders in place. And really, like what they didn't do in 2019, they didn't have the conversation with law enforcement. They didn't have the conversation with district attorneys. They didn't have the conversation with defense attorneys. You know, put everybody at the table. And I'm sure we could actually come up with a plan that works, not only for defendants, not only for victims, but also for the community, because that's what this is about. It's about making sure that there's justice for all. And that's really where I stand on this.
It's noteworthy that there was not a single public hearing leading into the drafting of this law in the first place.
Oh, absolutely. It was behind closed doors, just like everything else seems to be in Albany.
And let me ask you about that, because we are in the middle of budget talks. We have heard very little about what's going on. It is all done at the very top levels with the three leaders, the two legislative leaders and the governor. That's a process that's not new, in fairness. I mean, that has been a tradition in Albany for a very long time, but it doesn't seem like the best way to do government.
No, absolutely not. I mean, listen, behind closed doors, that seems to be the deal that's always made. And unfortunately, we see it now where one-party rule in New York State isn't working. You know, if it was truly working, then they would have had a negotiated deal before April 1st. You know, unfortunately, this is becoming a pattern here. It's 2 years in a row with this governor, and we really need to make sure that we get this right. And we need to, we're heading into next week is Monday, April 17th. We're due back in session. It's a 2-day week. You can guarantee that we're going to be there all week. And not only that, we're going to need another budget extender, a third one, just to get us through the 9 remaining bills.
This is now the latest state budget since 2010. That went into August. We're not quite in that territory yet, but what's your prediction on when they wrap this up?
You know, I wish I could tell you. Right now, it doesn't look promising. Here we are. Yesterday we did a second extender. Like I said, we're going to need a third one just to get us through the 9 bills. So just to put it into perspective here, when those 9 bills are introduced and we have to wait and brief them and everything, and then debate them, you're talking about 40 to 48 hours of debate.
Right. The entire process of actually printing bills and voting on a budget is very, very time consuming. So even if you announce a deal, you're about 48 hours away from actually passing it.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about sunshine all the time, right? We should be able to see what's going on. And I guarantee you some of these bills are going to require a governor's message of necessity. And you talk about under the cover of darkness, that's under the cover of darkness.
Okay, Mike Reilly, thanks very much for being with us. It is time for a break. Coming up, the City Council passes a new bill that will force sites like StubHub and Ticketmaster to be more transparent about those fees and surcharges in ads. We'll bring you the details straight ahead.